Suspicion can cost you an innocent relationship, but unlimited access can cost you your peace, your judgment, and your purpose. Both losses are real. If you suspect everybody, you will wound people who have done nothing to deserve your accusation. But if you give everybody unrestricted influence, you may discover too late that affection is not the same as qualification. Are you with me? Love without discernment becomes exposure, and discernment without evidence becomes suspicion. This is why we must be careful with dramatic labels. The word toxic may communicate that you are hurting, confused, exhausted, or afraid. Your pain deserves attention. But the label does not tell us what happened. It does not tell us whether the conduct occurred once or repeatedly. It does not tell us what consequences followed, whether accountability was attempted, or what response is justified. A powerful word can announce distress while still failing to provide a diagnosis. Now, do not misunderstand me. Beneath much sensational teaching about relationships are legitimate concerns. Some relationships produce confusion, some weaken peace, some encourage dependency, some gradually pull attention away from purpose. Those consequences must not be dismissed simply because exaggerated explanations are sometimes attached to them. But attention is not evidence, intensity is not accuracy, and an explanation about invisible motives does not become true merely because it sounds convincing. Write this down. Discernment evaluates what can be observed. Suspicion claims to know what cannot be seen. Discernment asks, what pattern of conduct is present and what fruit does it produce? Suspicion declares, I know why this person did it. One records behavior and consequence. The other writes a secret story about intention. You are responsible for judging what a relationship consistently produces, but you are not authorized to invent what another person secretly intends. That distinction brings relief, because you do not need to demonize someone in order to measure the access the relationship should receive. You do not have to call a person evil to recognize that certain forms of influence are presently unwise. And you do not have to ignore harmful conduct in order to prove that you are loving. So bring one difficult relationship quietly to mind. Do not name the person. Do not condemn them. Do not rush to defend them either. Hold the relationship still long enough to examine it honestly. We are going to apply a practical test of purpose and character, examine observable patterns, and determine which response the evidence can support. Repair, boundaries, distance, or continued trust. The safer question is not, is this person toxic? The safer question is, what level of access does the evidence support? But before that question can guide us, we must define three controlling words: purpose, character, and access. Purpose is the governing direction and the responsibilities you must faithfully steward. It is not merely ambition. It is not endless productivity. And it is certainly not personal preference dressed up as destiny. Purpose answers a more disciplined question. What has been entrusted to me that I must not neglect, distort, or surrender? Your health may require stewardship. Your work may require stewardship. Your family, commitments, gifts, and moral obligations may require stewardship. Purpose identifies the direction your life must honor and the responsibilities your choices must protect. Now define character. Character is not charm, reputation, or the version of a person you meet when everything is convenient. Character is the repeated way someone handles truth, responsibility, power, correction, and the welfare of others. What happens when they are confronted? What do they do with information that could embarrass you? How do they behave when they possess leverage? Do they accept responsibility, or do they continually transfer the cost of their conduct to somebody else? Character is revealed through recurring choices, especially when honesty is uncomfortable. Then we come to access. Access is permission to affect your time, your attention, your information, your emotions, your decisions, your opportunities, and your direction. Very important. Access is not one switch marked present or absent. It has degrees. A person may have permission to speak with you but not to advise you. They may know your schedule but not your private struggles. They may share an environment with you without directing your future. Nearness does not automatically authorize influence. Write this down. Love can be broad, but access must be measured. You may offer dignity, courtesy, goodwill, and compassion without offering equal confidence to everyone. Love recognizes human worth. Trust evaluates demonstrated character. Affection may open your heart toward a person, but it does not automatically open every room of your life to them. This also means relationship and role must not be confused. Someone may remain your family member, colleague, neighbor, or old friend while their practical access changes. The role may be given by circumstance. Influence must be entrusted according to character. You do not have to deny the relationship in order to adjust its permissions. That is not necessarily rejection. Sometimes it is simply truthful stewardship. Here is the formula we will use. Purpose identifies what must be protected. Character indicates what can be trusted. Patterns determine how much access is wise. Purpose is the standard. Character supplies the evidence. Access is the adjustable decision. Now, return to the relationship you selected. What does this person presently have permission to influence? Your calendar, your emotional state, your confidential information, your major decisions, your opportunities, your sense of direction. Be specific, because vague anxiety becomes more manageable when you identify the actual permission involved. But even a sound standard can become unjust when applied to assumptions. Before adjusting access, we must ask whether your concern rests on a repeated pattern or one painful exception. The next discipline is fair observation, judging what consistently happened without turning a single incident, an interpretation, or a fear into a complete verdict. A pattern is similar conduct recurring across time or across situations. It becomes especially significant when the effect has been clearly named, the person has had an opportunity to respond, and the same conduct continues. One painful event may require attention, but repetition supplies different evidence. Repetition tells you that you are not merely remembering an injury. You are observing how the relationship operates. Now listen carefully to the language of observation. They disclosed information I asked them to keep private twice. Is an observable statement. Dates can be identified. Conduct can be described. A response can be requested. But they want to ruin me is an interpretation of an inner motive. It may express your fear, but it claims more than the evidence can establish. You may know what they did. You may know what it cost you. You may not know the private intention from which it came. Write this down. Clarity does not require mind reading. You can address conduct without pretending to possess secret knowledge. You can say, this happened, this was the effect, and this must change, without saying, I know what is inside you. That is sober discernment. It honors your experience while remaining fair to the other person. Use 4 questions to examine the relationship you selected. What happened? How often did it happen? Under what conditions did it occur? What changed after honest feedback? Do not answer with labels. Answer with events. Was the conduct rare or routine? Did it appear only during an unusual crisis or whenever the person was denied control? When the effect was explained, did they listen, take responsibility, and alter their behavior? Or did they dismiss the concern and repeat the cycle? Context matters. Stress, grief, immaturity, and misunderstanding may help explain conduct. Compassion asks what pressures were present, but explanation does not erase impact, and it does not automatically restore access. You may understand why someone acted poorly and still conclude that a certain permission is presently unsafe. Mercy and measurement are not enemies. You must also separate discomfort from damage. A truthful challenge may unsettle you. A reasonable no may disappoint you. A disagreement may expose pride, confusion, or conflicting judgment. Unpleasant does not always mean harmful. Sometimes a person demonstrates character by refusing to flatter you. But manipulation, retaliation, chronic dishonesty, and repeated boundary violations present a different kind of evidence. Do not condemn correction because it hurts, and do not excuse corrosion because it arrives with affection. Be careful, too, about constructing a verdict from viral language or one dramatic story. Sensational outliers attract concentrated attention, but popularity does not make an explanation reliable. A compelling story may alert you to a possibility. It cannot prove what happened in your relationship. So, begin a short conduct log. Record the date, the observable behavior, its effect, your response, and any subsequent change. Remove diagnostic and supernatural labels. Keep what can be discussed and tested. You are not preparing a prosecution. You are preserving clarity. Retain that record, because the next question is practical. What areas of your life can this pattern presently be allowed to influence? Now take the conduct record and locate where the pattern enters your life. Many relational problems continue because access has never been defined. It expands through habit. It expands through guilt. It expands because somebody's crisis feels urgent, and urgency quietly becomes authority. If you do not assign permission deliberately, repeated pressure may assign it for you. Inventory 6 doors: your time, your private information, your emotional dependence, your decision-making, your physical or financial resources, and your participation in purpose-critical work. These are not identical permissions. A person may handle conversation well and money poorly. They may be dependable in ordinary tasks but careless with confidential matters. They may offer warmth while lacking the restraint required to influence a major decision. For each door, ask one practical question. Does this person handle what enters here with truth, restraint, reciprocity, and respect for responsibility? Truth means they do not distort what they receive. Restraint means they do not use every permission available to them. Reciprocity means the relationship does not demand endlessly from one side. Respect for responsibility means they do not pressure you to neglect what has been entrusted to you merely to prove your loyalty. Notice this carefully. Proximity and influence are different. Someone may be physically present in your daily environment, yet possess very little authority over your choices. Another person may live far away, speak with you occasionally, and still dominate your self-perception, your availability, and your decisions. The issue is not simply who stands near you. The issue is what their nearness, physical or emotional, is permitted to control. Consider a friendship in which genuine affection remains, but the record shows poor handling of certain permissions. You may continue talking while no longer sharing sensitive information. You may keep contact while ending financial entanglement. You may still value the person while refusing to outsource urgent decisions to them. That is calibrated access. It does not force every door open, and it does not require every door closed. Now look for disproportionate influence. Does every crisis override responsibilities you already plan to honor? Does guilt determine when you must be available? Are you repeatedly pressured to violate convictions in order to preserve closeness? Does dependence punish you whenever you exercise independent judgment? These signs do not automatically explain the other person's motives, but they do reveal what the present arrangement is producing. Mark each door in the relationship you selected: supported, uncertain, or repeatedly mishandled. Supported means the evidence justifies present permission. Uncertain means more observation or a narrower trial may be needed. Repeatedly mishandled means access should not continue unchanged merely because affection exists. Reducing access does not retroactively declare the entire relationship false. It does not erase every good memory or deny every sincere act. It brings present permission into alignment with demonstrated capacity. Write this principle down. Goodwill may be generous, but influence must be governed. Purpose is protected when each relationship carries only the forms of access its character can presently support. Once you have marked those 6 doors, do not rush immediately to a final relational verdict. First, examine the fruit. When this influence enters your life, what does it repeatedly produce around your responsibilities and within you? Peace, clarity, maturity, or confusion, fear, and depletion? Fear, pain, stress, anxiety, and the longing for peace are not distractions from this evaluation. They are part of the evidence of lived experience. If a framework can describe conduct but dismiss what the relationship repeatedly does within you, it is incomplete. Your distress deserves attention, but attention is not the same as surrendering the decision to emotion. We must define peace correctly. Peace is ordered inner capacity, the ability to think truthfully, act responsibly, and remain grounded while facing reality. Peace is not the absence of disagreement. It is not uninterrupted comfort. It is not the pleasant feeling produced when nobody challenges you. Write this down. Peace does not remove every difficult emotion. Peace keeps difficult emotion from ruling the whole person. This distinction is very important. Conviction may disturb your comfort while producing greater clarity. Honest conflict may be painful while remaining respectful, truthful, and capable of repair. But chronic relational disorder produces something different. It repeatedly leaves you confused about what happened, afraid to speak plainly, compelled to manage another person's reactions, or unable to carry out responsibilities without emotional paralysis. So return to the relationship you selected and examine what follows interaction. Can you think clearly afterward, or must you spend hours reconstructing reality? Can you keep appropriate commitments, or are they repeatedly displaced by relational pressure? Are you becoming freer to tell the truth, or more skilled at concealing it to prevent interruption? Are you becoming more responsible, more stable, and more mature, or more dependent upon the other person's approval before you can act? These questions measure fruit. They do not read motives. Now be fair. Personal anxiety alone cannot prove that another person is harmful. Anxiety may arise from previous wounds, fear of disagreement, uncertainty, exhaustion, or your own resistance to necessary truth. An emotional signal says, pay attention. It does not automatically say, convict this person. Compare the feeling with observable conduct, relevant context, and repeated outcomes. Does the distress follow honest correction that ultimately strengthens you? Does it arise during a conflict in which both people remain truthful and responsible? Or does it consistently accompany dishonesty, pressure, retaliation, and the loss of sound judgment? At the same time, do not spiritualize continuous chaos. Do not romanticize confusion as proof of loyalty or call permanent instability compassion. Compassion may help you understand a person's struggle. It does not require you to make disorder the atmosphere in which the relationship must live. Peace is restored through truthful order. Name what is actually happening. Reduce access that the evidence does not support. Continue responsibilities that remain justified. Refuse revenge, humiliation, exaggeration, and retaliatory conduct. You are not seeking relief at any price. You are seeking the order that makes truthful action possible. Add these emotional and functional outcomes to your relationship audit. Then compare them with the pattern already recorded. The next question is decisive. When this reality is spoken honestly, does the relationship respond with ownership and change, or does accountability merely begin the cycle again? That response is the accountability test. Imperfection is universal. Repairability is not. Every person will fail somewhere, but character becomes visible when conduct and impact are named honestly. The decisive question is not, did they make a mistake? The question is, what do they do with the truth about it? Write down 5 markers. First, they can hear a specific concern without forcing the conversation away from the issue. Second, they acknowledge facts that can be verified. Third, they own their contribution without immediately counterattacking. Fourth, they participate in reasonable repair. Fifth, they demonstrate change conduct over time. Hearing, acknowledgement, ownership, repair, change, these are observable. You do not have to guess what lives inside a person. You watch what happens after truth enters the conversation. An apology may be sincere, but apology language alone does not establish safety. Regret describes emotion. Repair addresses impact. Repair asks, what was damaged? What conduct must stop? What should replace it? Is reasonable restitution needed? Tears may accompany repair, but tears are not repair. A promise may begin repair, but only consistent action can confirm it. A relationship is not proven safe by eloquent remorse. It becomes repairable through truth, ownership, and sustained change. Now watch for the opposite pattern. Documented events are denied. Responsibility is reversed until the injured person becomes the accused. Concern is punished through anger, withdrawal, ridicule, or threats. Promises multiply while conduct remains unchanged. Outsiders are recruited to pressure the person who raised the issue. Immediate trust is demanded as proof of forgiveness. Do not diagnose the motive behind these responses. Record the responses themselves. Accountability that repeatedly produces punishment is giving you information about the access the relationship can presently support. But this test examines you also. Bring specific observations, not sweeping accusations. Make requests proportionate to the conduct. Allow relevant context to be heard. Do not use another person's failure as permission to humiliate them. A boundary may contain a legitimate limit and still be delivered with contempt. Then the limit may be wise, but your manner violates the purpose of the framework. Truth should protect responsibility, not feed revenge. Suppose a family member repeatedly disregards an agreed responsibility. and the cost keeps falling upon others. The issue is addressed directly. The events are identified, the effect is explained, and a reasonable change is requested. If that person listens, owns their part, helps correct the damage, and becomes dependable over time, repair may be appropriate. If they offer words but continue the same conduct, a limited contact boundary may be necessary. If raising the concern brings repeated retaliation, pressure through other relatives, or escalating disruption, greater distance may become justified. Notice, the original failure matters, but the response determines what can be rebuilt. Forgiveness, where your values call you to it, may release vengeance without recreating trust. Trust is not restored by demand. It returns as credible evidence accumulates. Record what happened after accountability. What was acknowledged, what was repaired, and what changed with time. Do not assign the final path yet. One more question remains. Even where affection continues, does the present level of proximity fit the relationship's current season? A relational season is a period in which a particular level of participation serves a legitimate shared responsibility, stage of growth, assignment, or circumstance. Notice the definition. A season describes the form a relationship can truthfully sustain now. It does not declare that yesterday was false, and it does not promise that yesterday's arrangement must continue forever. History proves that a relationship existed. History does not guarantee permanent entitlement to every form of permission. What once required frequent conversation may now require occasional contact. What once involved shared decisions may now involve goodwill without consultation. The value of what was shared can remain even when the level of participation changes. But be careful. Reduced closeness is not always evidence of harmful conduct. Responsibilities change, people relocate. Capacity narrows, direction develops. A relationship may become less central because life now requires attention elsewhere, not because either person has become dangerous. Not every change is betrayal. Not every ending needs an enemy. The opposite error is equally serious. Do not call a repeated harmful pattern just a season merely to avoid an honest conversation. Season language cannot excuse dishonesty, retaliation, coercion, or continually violated limits. A natural transition changes participation because circumstances and responsibilities have changed. A harmful pattern requires accountability because conduct has damaged what the relationship should protect. One calls for truthful recalibration, the other may require protection. Ask 4 questions. What originally joined us? What responsibility remains between us now? What form of access still serves both people honestly? And what are we trying to preserve? Purpose, peace, image, nostalgia, or control? Write those questions down. Your answer may reveal that you are preserving an appearance long after the actual relationship has changed. Consider an old friendship formed when time, location, and daily responsibilities were shared. The affection may still be genuine, yet neither person can sustain the former frequency of contact. Integrity does not require them to pretend. They can honor what was shared, express gratitude, communicate their changed capacity, and stop promising availability they repeatedly cannot provide. Gratitude preserves the meaning of the past. Honesty determines the form of the present. And when a relationship must be reduced or ended, conduct that transition with character. Do not begin a smear campaign to justify your decision. Do not manufacture motives so the change appears more dramatic. Do not disclose private information merely to recruit agreement. Endings reveal character too. You can grieve, speak truth, establish limits, and refuse contempt at the same time. Now gather the entire record. What pattern occurred? Which forms of access were supported or mishandled? What fruit did the influence repeatedly produce? What happened after accountability? Does present proximity fit the current season? These questions will help you identify whether the relationship is wounded, unsafe, naturally changing, or presently trustworthy. Not every relationship that changes has failed. Sometimes integrity requires a truthful change of form. The next task is to match that evidence with one proportionate path: repair, boundaries, distance, or continued trust. Now bring every test into one decision. Identify purpose. Document the pattern. Map the forms of access. Examine the repeated fruit. Test the response to accountability. Account for the present season. Then and only then choose among repair, boundaries, distance, or continued trust. Discernment is incomplete until evidence becomes a proportionate decision. Repair is appropriate when the issue is specific, truth can be discussed, responsibility can be assigned fairly, and both people demonstrate credible willingness to change. Repair does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means having a direct conversation, making a clear request, agreeing upon practical next steps, and establishing a point at which progress will be reviewed. Repair says, what was damaged matters, and we are both prepared to do what restoration requires. Boundaries are appropriate when the relationship or responsibility continues, but certain permissions have been repeatedly mishandled or present capacity is limited. A boundary must name what will change, what remains available, and what will happen if the limit is violated again. Do not merely say, I need space, when clarity is possible. Say what access is being reduced and what conduct would be required before it could expand. A boundary is not punishment. It is the structure necessary for continued relationship without continued disorder. Distance is appropriate when harmful conduct is severe or recurring. Truthful engagement produces manipulation or retaliation. Safety is threatened, or meaningful repair is consistently refused. Distance may mean reduced contact, separation from particular settings, or a more complete interruption of access, always proportionate to the risk. And listen carefully. Where credible danger, coercion, abuse, or retaliation is present, you are not required to prove courage through a private confrontation. Prioritize safety and seek qualified local support appropriate to the situation. Continued trust is appropriate when a person consistently respects truth, responsibility, independence, confidentiality, correction, and the legitimate purposes you must protect. Do not make trust invisible. Express appreciation. Practice reciprocity. Handle their confidence with the same care you expect from them. Continued trust is not careless assumption. It is the active stewardship of a relationship whose character has repeatedly supported its access. These 4 doors are not rankings of human worth. Choosing a boundary does not make you superior. Choosing repair does not make you weak. Choosing distance does not declare another person worthless. Choosing trust does not declare them flawless. Each decision describes the present condition and capacity of the relationship, not the ultimate value of either human being. And different areas may require different decisions. Social warmth may continue while financial access is restricted. Confidential matters may require distance while a proven work role retains trust. One relationship can therefore contain goodwill, a clear limit, a protected area, and a trusted responsibility at the same time. Maturity does not demand one sweeping verdict when the evidence is specific. Every decision must also remain reviewable. Trust may deepen as evidence accumulates. Boundaries may relax after sustained change. Repair may fail when promised change never appears. Distance may remain necessary. Do not let pressure rush reevaluation. And do not let fear postpone it indefinitely. Review according to conduct, not pleading, according to time-tested change, not temporary intensity. Now complete this sentence for the relationship you selected. Because the observable pattern is, its effect on purpose and peace is, and the response to accountability is, the present level of access should be. Fill the blanks with conduct, effects, responses, and permissions, not labels. Then test your decision. Is it truthful? Is it proportionate? Does it protect legitimate responsibility? Does it avoid humiliation and invented motives? Can it be communicated clearly? If the answer is no, refine the action without abandoning the evidence. The mature response is neither automatic closeness nor automatic cutoff. It is the access the evidence can presently support. Compassion governs how the decision is carried out. Evidence governs what the decision is. Now that the door has been selected, the final task is to write how you will walk through it, when you will review it, and what peace-producing consistency will require. Insight cannot protect purpose until it becomes practice. So take 1 page and write the plan. Name the relationship's present role. Record the observable pattern. Mark the areas of access affected. State the impact upon purpose and peace. Note the response to accountability. Identify the current season and write the path you have chosen. Repair, boundaries, distance, or continued trust. 1 page. Clear language. No dramatic diagnosis. Now choose one immediate action. If the path is repair, schedule the conversation. If it is boundaries, communicate the limit. If it is distance, arrange that distance safely and seek appropriate support where danger is present. If it is continued trust, express appreciation and strengthen the reciprocity that has made trust credible. A decision without action becomes another form of delay. Script what you will say. Begin with the conduct. When this occurred, then name the effect. This affected. State the needed change. Going forward, I need. Define access. For now, I will. Finally, establish the condition for review. We will reconsider this after. Notice what is missing. No labels. No invented intentions. No speech designed to humiliate. Truth does not need exaggeration to become firm. Set a realistic review date. A minor, isolated failure may be reviewed sooner than a serious or repeated pattern. Sustained change requires enough time to become visible. The purpose of review is not anxious daily surveillance. You are not watching every expression, collecting every imperfect sentence, or waiting to declare the plan successful or defeated. You are observing whether conduct becomes consistently truthful, responsible, and peace-producing. Two temptations may appear after the decision. First, you may repeatedly prosecute the case before outsiders because you want emotional permission to hold the limit. Seek wise support when needed, but do not turn private pain into public humiliation. Second, pressure may arrive, and you may abandon a justified decision simply because somebody dislikes it. Discomfort does not invalidate proportionate action. Let credible evidence revise the plan, not guilt, pleading, or temporary intensity. Carry out the decision with character. Remain truthful. Fulfill legitimate responsibilities. Accept the grief that may accompany changed access. Refuse revenge. Compassion does not require undefined permission, and firmness does not require contempt. This resolves the danger with which we began. Suspicion is restrained because you did not invent motives. Purpose is protected because you did not leave access undefined. You measured conduct, examined fruit, tested accountability, respected season, and chose proportionately. The goal was never to discover a villain. The goal is to become a trustworthy steward of love, truth, responsibility, and access. Peace grows when truth becomes a plan, and the plan is carried out with character. Write your one-page plan now. Add the immediate action and the review date. Then practice it quietly, revisit it consistently, and let credible evidence, not fear, guide what changes next.